Alright, so we'll start with Peter the Great.
Peter the Great.
Yep. So, Peter the Great began to rule. I guess they call him Peter the First as well. He began to rule at a very young age. He was only 10. It said he became Tsar at 10 years old, 1682. But so his sister Sophia was taking control while he was still young, and it said he spent a lot of the time in the country, playing around in the country. And Sophia was more and more acting as if she was the real Tsar of Russia. But as Peter got older, he was about 17, Sophia tried to convince her royal guard to attack Peter and his mother. But this royal guard refused to and went on Peter's side. So Sophia then fled to Convent. What?
Convent is like a monastery.
Okay.
So
yeah, and it says
instead of monks, they're nuns.
Yes.
Okay. So, and she spent the rest of her life there. And so now Peter was the true Tsar of Russia.
How old was he?
He was 17.
Okay, 17.
But Peter was also interested in the Westerners, and he began to talk with them, and he wanted to build a navy that could sail to Europe. But he was afraid also because of the icy Arctic waters there. And his only port was Archangel, sorry.
Okay.
But he needed to find a warmer port. And his eye was on Azov. Is that how you say it? Azov?
Azov, yeah.
But this Azov belonged to the Ottoman Turks. So he marched to Azov and demanded for them to surrender, but the Turks didn't really, they just laughed. And Peter understood why, because they had ships that were sailing into Azov.
To supply, right?
Yeah,
the port.
with supplies. And so Peter decided to go back. He told them to retreat, and he was getting ready some more ships and barges for the spring so that they could go back. And so they went back and drove away the Turkish galleys, and they poured into the fortress. And that's when the Turks waved their turbans and surrendered. So they surrendered to Peter's warships. And so this is a time when, after Peter kind of took over that, he went to Germany and Holland and England, and he spent months learning all about their accomplishments and like of the Western countries. It also said that he
could actually become a seller, right?
What?
A builder of ship or something, and then he become a seller and a builder of ship,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I think in Holland, he studied gunnery. So he studied gunnery there. Worked on docks in India and Amsterdam for months, and then he visited England and spent months working on English. I guess that's when he was building boats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it also said that he went to a Quaker meeting with William Penn. And it says here, but afterwards he remarked to one of his quarters that, what a use of a bunch of men who won't fight for their own country. There's just a small thing he said about that. And then, let's see. And then it started kind of explaining, I think he went back to Russia, and he had a bunch of new ideas. It also kind of explained how he drank a lot and how he kind of wore poor clothes.
He was a rough guy,
Yeah, he was a rough guy, yeah. It said that a woman had said his manners were a little less rustic. I don't know.
Rustic.
Less rustic. I don't know. And then he kind of brought in, like it said he shaved off his beard and he wanted other people to shave off their beard. And some didn't want to because they believed that beards symbolize a special relationship with God. So if they cut off their beards, they put it in a baggie and keep it, bury themselves with it. And so he continued to kind of dress himself as more like a Westerner. And it says he walked around with scissors and hacked off people's beards and sleeves and stuff. It looked more Western.
Yeah. Because people these days more dress like Mongolian people,
Yeah.
you know? Beard, long beard, have Mongolian, heavy clothing and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, he.
Let's. Are you done with this portion?
I think that's about it. It said that he wanted to do more Western stuff, but he didn't want Russia to become that Western. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's about.
He's still holding his idea to be a authority, am I?
Yeah.
So absolute ruler in a sense. So, good. Somebody volunteer for the next part. This guy don't have notes, no books. I don't believe he can do the next part. So.
I'll let someone else do it.
Bad students.
I'm not a student though. I tried.
You're not a student anymore. Oh wow.
Wait, what? Why?
That's what I've been told.
I don't know. Nobody told him. He said that. So. Okay. Somebody volunteer for the next review.
I actually don't have the actual journal that I use for mine.
Ah. This two guys know
I'll
response.
volunteer.
Are you zombie out.
So the part 2, chapter 17. Chapter 17 was called Peter's Port to the West. Peter was still trying to get help to fight the Turks. Charles the 12th was
No, didn't get into the war married because of fighting Turks. He won another port, right?
Yeah.
That's the reason.
Yeah.
So what the port city? What the port name? What
was
it
it
called?
Was it Naba or something?
Huh?
No.
Moscow?
He owns. He just
owns
took
Azov.
over Azov.
Oh,
Yeah, right now he can't get through because the Turks still control the street, from Black Sea to Mediterranean Sea. So, that's where Constantinople was, am I right? So, making sense to you? Look at the map, okay? So this is Black Sea. As always, is the world corner. That's the Mediterranean Sea. Now here, this called the street didn't really, basically, that's where Constantinople is sitting between the two sides, am I right? Asian and Europe. So somebody gonna test you. Which city is sitting between a part as Europe, part as Asian? What kind of city you can call it? What Asian capital you can say? Oh, that's Constantinople, right? So because on one part is Europe land, on the other side of the street is Asian land. So yeah, people quirky to ask you a question like that kind of thing, am I right? So making sense to you guys? So yeah, okay. So what's the port you want to occupy? Let's look at the map if you don't know. That gonna go Nawa, am I right? So Nawa River.
yeah, that's. So Charles the 12th was a boy king. He was pretty young, like a younger
I think he's 19.
king. Yeah, like in his early adulthood.
Okay.
And he participated in the Great Northern War, which was 20 years long, During that war, during a siege that the Peter tried to have on Charles, a snowstorm stopped his army, and Charles had won that battle because Peter could not go on because his army was dying from snow, cold.
Cannons. Yeah, his cannons were
Yeah.
fire.
And then Charles won. War went on. In 1702, Peter.
So there's Denmark involved, am I right? Charles invaded Denmark, am I right? So,
Yeah, that's
Okay. So what has to do with the Shakespeare's novels or plays? Who is the Prince of Denmark?
You're talking about Hamlet?
Yeah, Hamlet is Prince, not Prince England. You know that, huh? It's Prince of Denmark. You understand that? Okay. Because everybody's thinking Hamlet is a Prince of English people, right? So, Prince of Denmark. That's where it is. Anyway.
Peter captured a small Swedish fortress, and he began to build St. Petersburg in a what I think it was like a swampy area.
yeah, swampy.
And but so and then let's see.
He captured that in 1702.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Charles actually ended up dying in a meaningless battle. And in 1724, St. Petersburg became a large city, and Peter ended up dying. So
He is?
Wait,
Yeah.
what?
yeah.
Ended up dying because he tried to save a sailor, right? A soldier, right? So,
Yep. From drowning.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry, that
Yeah.
skipped ahead.
So he built St. Petersburg in the beginning was nothing, right? People scorn about it. Ah, this poor city.
Mm-hmm.
A few decades later, become almost like Western city, right? So, okay. So, wow. So which year he died?
I think it was in. I don't know.
Oh, whoops.
I don't know what year he died.
1724.
Okay, now let's move on to chapter 18. You got ready?
Yep.
Yep.
Still excited about this lessons? I hope so. Not me. So the first chapter 18, the title, whole chapter is East and the West Collide. The first part is the Ottomans look west twice. Ottomans. Okay, we're going to start today with our young guest. Now there's no guest anymore, so. Okay,
You want me to start reading?
yeah.
I can hear everyone because I'm not on Zoom. Yay.
Yeah.
Peter wasn't the only Eastern king to look toward the west. To the south of Russia, Peter's enemies, the Ottoman Turks, were also ruled by a king who hoped to make his empire more western. But even before that king came to the throne, the Turks tried to become more western by
Conquering.
conquering.
Means
Conquering.
occupy, right? Invaded,
I didn't know
occupy.
it was spelled that way.
It's okay.
When Peter became Khazar of Russia, the Ottoman Empire stretched from the modern-day country of is that Iraq?
Iraq, that's where Iraq is. Yeah.
Iraq.
Also became Tsar. The C does not pronounce, so
Oh.
yeah,
Tsar.
Tsar. Yeah.
All the way over to the borders of Austria.
Austria, yeah.
The German state where the Holy Roman Empire lived.
Mm-hmm.
The Ottoman Turks were proud Eastern people,
Mm-hmm.
followers of
Islam, am I right?
Islam.
Islam is I don't know. It's religion? No, it's not religion. Islam is the
Their-
people for Muslims. Okay, I don't know. Huh? So
Their
Islam
king-
is religion. Yes. Go ahead.
Their king of gosh, I cannot read anymore.
Oh, that's good. I don't know how to pronounce that word.
Sultan.
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 Mhm.
The king or sultan ruled over the empire without question. He also guarded the holy cities of Mecca,
Mecca.
Medina,
Huh? Let me see. Medina.
Medina,
Yeah, Medina.
and Jerusalem. I don't know how to spell that. The Sultan kept private royal guards called the
Janissaries.
Janissaries,
I had no idea. I never heard that word before. Janissaries.
who would carry out any deed their Sultan ordered. In 1683, the year after Peter became Tsar, the Turks decided to make the western part of their Eastern Empire and began to march toward Europe. After a quarter of a million Turkish soldiers were headed towards Vienna,
Vienna.
the
Vienna.
capital of the German state of I forgot that word.
Austria.
Austria.
Vienna is also the capital of music or classical music, right? So,
Okay. The Holy Roman Empire lived in I forgot that.
Vienna.
Vienna.
Mm-hmm.
Vienna. If the Turks could capture Vienna, they would also own the heart of the West.
Mm.
The Vienna's people panicked. All of the noblemen fled with their treasure. With their treasure. Houses in front of the walls were knocked down so that there would be room to fight. The Holy Roman Empire sneaked out of the city along with his family. The Viennese. Oh my gosh, I cannot pronounce this.
Viennese. That's a new word to everybody, I guess.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
The Viennese stood on the walls waiting for the worst. And then they saw the long, frightened line of the Turks rise slowly over the horizon. The footsteps of the enormous army shook the earth. They broke against the earth like waves of the sea. One Viennese man wrote.
Mm.
The Ottoman army set up a
siege camp. Mm-hmm.
siege camp all around Vienna.
Vienna.
Goodness.
Yeah. Just repeat 3 times. Vienna. Yeah.
The army's leader of Vizier.
I had no idea. I think called wiser. It's not a we. English to we, but in other language always I. Wiser. Yeah.
Prime Minister
What is his name? Kara.
Mustafa.
Mm-hmm. You're
Kara
right.
Mustafa.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fun name. Put up a whole network of tents and fancy silk covers.
Mm-hmm.
Rich rugs and gardens planted around them.
Kidding me? Mm.
Terra
Mustafa.
And what? Sorry. Did not intend to leave his camp anytime soon.
He basically won the long-term campaign, right? Long-term campaign. So he planned a garden, living in the tents. We're gonna have someone else continue. So they're gonna be the next person on your left.
Yep.
Which left? My left?
Your left.
That's right. Okay. If I know my left from my right.
That's interesting. You don't know your left.
The Turks started digging trenches toward the walls of Vienna,
Yeah.
sheltering themselves by pulling timbers and earth over their heads. The Viennese were told to listen carefully for any sound of tunneling from underneath the city's pavements. As soon as they heard the sound of digging, German soldiers would try to break through the stones into the tunnels, fighting the Turks hand to hand in the dark, cramped underground before they could break through into the city. One morning, long before dawn, two bakers were
Think about
preparing-
it. They dig the tunnel under the ground. I'm trying to with this big city. What other ways you think can stop doing that if he discovers they digging the tunnel into it?
Put water in it.
Good point. What are the other ways? Smoke them, am I right? So,
Pour gas, put a on fire.
I mean, if we have gas, I can do that. But smoke them out, man. Am I right?
Put some hounds.
Rather than have to go there to fight, you know, no advantage,
Yeah.
just smoke them, you know.
Mhm.
Thinking about it. Yeah, someday you're gonna defend your city, maybe, you know, never know. Go ahead.
One morning, long before dawn, two bakers were preparing the day's bread. One baker kneaded the dough while the other stoked the oven.
What means stoke the oven or what? What it means? Stoke the oven, what it means?
That's like making sure it stays lit and
Oh, still late? Okay.
making
when-
sure it like doesn't go out. Putting
Like adding wood or-
adding woods, okay.
Like, Some
Okay.
have these like
Oh.
things that you, I don't know what they're
Oh
called.
wow.
Little
Okay.
air things.
Yeah. Called
bellows.
called the billows.
Yeah.
Billows. Yes.
Vienna still slept. The city was quiet. Suddenly, the kneader paused. He could hear an odd sound. Click, scoop, click, scoop. Turkish soldiers were tunneling beneath the bakery. Help, he yelled. Invaders, help, stop them. German soldiers came running.
That's too slow, yawning. Nobody will hear you.
You want me to yell?
Yeah.
Let's hear this from the right.
Help!
German troops ran into the studio.
Invaders!
Yeah.
They pried up the bakery's stones and leapt down into the tunnels below, shouting and firing. The Turkish tunnelers were driven back.
So they're called tunnelers now, right?
Tunnelers, yeah, the Turkish.
Interesting. Kneelers, not bakers anymore. So what the white going to do the oven called the stalkers? That's terrible. So sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
Evan Stalker.
The Turkish tunnelers were driven back.
Go ahead.
Vienna was safe for one more day. According to the legend, the bakers invented a new kind of bread in honor of the occasion. Rolls shaped like the crescent emblem on the Turkish flag, which they called croissants.
gonna say
Ha!
hot
Seriously? That's where croissant.
I dropped
Well,
my son.
well, you know what? You guys can order some croissant sandwich from Adagio.
I don't like croissants.
I like croissants, man.
I like the little ones you can roll out and cook.
The only good
Tube.
croissants are
Those are
the
good.
Who don't like croissant? Tell me, you don't like croissant? You don't like croissant?
I just don't like the flaky. They just kind of
I like
have.
the flakiness, but I like the bread.
Exactly. Are you kidding me?
I like the the little ones you can get in a tube.
I like the
The dough.
flakiness.
Those are good.
Yeah.
I like my carbs.
Okay. Croissant is my favorite baking
Croissant sandwich?
baking goods. Yeah.
I thought they were the peanut butter cookies.
Peanut cookies. Okay.
Peanut butter cookies with coffee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, he's a very serious guy. Yes, no. So.
We keep on going off on
Go
the
ahead.
But
deals.
no one thought
We need
Vienna
to cheer
would
her
last
up.
much longer.
To let her feel at home with us.
Croissant.
The siege dragged on. The people had
Siege.
run out of meat. They were eating donkeys and stray cats.
Whoa.
That's
Many had
delicious.
begun to grow ill, and no one seemed to be coming to the rescue. The Turks went on digging trenches. At any moment, a huge assault could pour over Vienna's crumbling walls and bring the city down. Meanwhile, an army of French and Polish and German soldiers was slowly assembling. Finally, on September 11th, 1683, the army was in position. The
Okay.
next
Let's write that down. Remember that on page. So it's very easy. September 11, all know September 11, right? So what matters is the year. Go ahead.
Okay, I just need to write this down real quick.
So this is about 20 years or decades ago, before Peter involved with war with Turks, am I right? So go ahead.
Okay. The next morning, the European attack began. German and Polish soldiers pressed their way into the Turkish camp. The camp collapsed. Kara Mustafa fled. Despite all that Turkish strength, the army had stayed too long. It was slow, disorganized, and easy to drive away. When Kara Mustafa returned home, the Sultan ordered his head brought to the court in a velvet bag.
What?
In a velvet
Oh,
bag.
man.
Make sure it's velvet.
Right, there we go.
Yeah, so it doesn't like make the bloodstains conspicuous.
That's terrible. That is who do that, those things. Okay, let's Elijah continue. You ended out on very savage and terrifying notes.
Head in velvet.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, Elijah is not the
I'd
guy.
rather them do it for me instead of bringing it to me so I could see it.
Have
Yeah.
Naomi read. She's a better,
Okay.
she's a better reader.
Yes, Naomi. Read. Continue.
Where are we at here?
The war with the bag.
Yep.
The head bag.
The attack on Vienna was the last attack of the Ottoman Turks. The empire began to shrink. The German armies drove them back east out of the modern country of Hungary.
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 Seriously?
Of
Hung-
Hungary.
Yeah.
Hungry? Turkey? What in the world?
The eastern side of the empire disappeared. The distance between east and west was widening once more. But 25 years later, a new sultan and his grand vizier tried once more to narrow the distance.
Let's see. 25 years later, which year is that?
Someone who knows good math.
Since 25 later since what?
Like
It's exactly since what?
1708. 1708.
Oh,
1708.
that's so right.
Just knows.
1708, there was a
Mhm.
new sultan.
Like Peter the Great, Hamlet III admired Western culture and Western ideas.
So what is the name?
Hamlet III.
I don't
Hammett.
see- Ament.
Not Hamlet.
How about that? Ament.
Hamet?
I don't see any Hammett. So
Okay.
Are you like mistaking some of the numbers for like being L's or
No,
something in
Hammett.
there?
It's just Hammett.
there's no ha. There's no HA. So
Wait,
you
there's no
return
HA.
the
No, it's
order.
just Amit. Sorry.
Armin.
Amit.
Amit. Amit. Come on.
I was like thinking Hammett.
Hamlet.
Where's
What
the
university you come from?
That is in like Peter the Great. Ammon the Third.
Like Peter the Great, Ahmed III admired Western culture and Western ideas. He was a particular fan of the Dutch tulips.
Me too.
Tulips had been a wildfire in Central Asia, where the Turks originally came from. As a matter of fact, a wild tulip was the sign of the Ottoman ruling house. Dutch explorers found the tulips and took them back to the Netherlands, where the Dutch gardens grew them, cultured them, and turned them into one of the world's greatest flowers. Now Hammett brought tulips back. Hammett.
Ahmet.
Ahmet. Why am I doing
No,
that?
it's Hamlet.
Ahmet.
Yeah.
Brought tulips back to the Turks. He had thousands and thousands of tulip bulbs brought from the Netherlands and planted at his royal palace. Hundreds of gardeners tended the bulbs. In April, when the tulips bloomed,
Do you guys know how many colors tulip has? Different.
Many colors.
79.
Do you have black ones or not?
Mm-mm.
Yes. You see, you don't know. There's black tulips.
Black,
So,
really?
white, yellow, orange, pink,
Red.
red,
purple.
purple. Yeah, there is a
I don't know.
purple. what else color? Yeah,
I think tulips pretty much have all colors.
You sure?
I
That would
mean,
be great.
like all the all the
There's
colors
no
in the-
green tulip. You
Yeah, I
have
think it's
green.
green.
There's
yeah,
green.
Like a green
Yeah.
stem and then a green flower. It looks like just. a
No,
long
what do you
stem.
think about what color? Blue? Have you seen blue?
No, I don't
tulips?
think there's blue
Yeah,
ones.
there are.
Azul,
I don't even
Azul
remember what
color.
tulip
Even
looks
if it's
like.
not natural, it's probably
brown
very
color.
easy.
There's no brown
to-
color.
Brown.
There's
If
no
it's
brown
thin.
color.
Is there
Gray.
There's no bronze color either.
Is there
Tulips.
Well,
yellow?
yeah, there's. yeah,
I
definitely.
don't remember
Is
what
there
tulip
tulips are
is.
available in nearly every color of the rainbow. Some with varieties having petals in
That's what I
multiple
thought.
tones: maroon, black, purple, as well, white, cream, pastel, white, yellow.
Yeah.
That was like a tulip.
You look at some pictures, or you look some pictures, you can see fields and the field,
Oh, yeah.
different colors.
Yeah, it's
Black tulips are weird.
Beautiful.
They're like
Yeah.
purple.
Oh, that's what a tulip looks like.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's a picture of it.
Okay, let's move on.
In April, with the tulips bloomed, Amlet threw enormous parties among the tulip beds.
Oh my gosh.
Amlet. Okay, how do you say it?
Amen.
Second,
Naomi, there's no L.
there is no actually,
Hamlet.
there is no L. So whatever you
I
got
just
there.
I don't maybe don't like the name. I just can't.
No, you like the name too much.
Ahmet.
No.
So Ahmet threw enormous parties among his tulip beds. Colored lamps hung over the gardens. Beautiful music was played from the garden's edges. He invited Western diplomats to the parties. The French ambassador described the scene he saw. Beside every fourth flower it stood a candle. Along the alleys were huge cages filled with all kinds of birds.
Trellises. You don't know trellises what it is? Trellises
Wait,
is
what?
something put up there for flower to climb on it.
Yeah.
Or display on it.
Like those arches.
They had turtles with
Arches
candles.
is built sometimes with branches, you know.
And those like wooden,
Trellis.
those wooden things. Are
Fish.
Trellis, like exactly. Sometimes you know
I
these
think that's
different
a circle
circles.
trellis.
Yeah, circles.
Like a
Look,
fence.
the cage, the birds are in a cage.
Yeah. Trellis.
Oh, they have a nice picture right here of the whole
Where?
scene right here.
Let's see.
Where? Oh.
Oh, that's a trellis. Yeah. I don't know. Different
Trellises
shapes trellis.
were all decorated with enormous quantities of flowers of sort placed in bottles and lit by an infinite number of glass lamps of different colors. Streams ran between the tulip beds. Giant turtles swam in them, bearing candles on their backs. For the love of his tulips, Ahmet III became known as the Tulip King.
Tulip King.
His reign became known as the Tulip Period. For 10 years, the Tulip King and his Grand Vizier,
Ibrahim.
Ibrahim
What?
It's like a
Pasha.
Turkish way of saying it.
Ibrahim Pasha.
Ibrahim.
You have to say that
Yin.
fancy
They always say yin.
With fancy
Mm-hmm.
names, you gotta say it in a fancy
Ibrahim.
accent.
Yin.
Pasha tried to shape the Ottoman court after the courts of the West. The Sultan's new palace, Sahabad, or the Palace of Happiness, was modeled after a French palace. Ibrahim Pasha sent ambassadors to French cities and factories to find out more about the European art and science. The ambassadors brought back the European art and science. Brought back printing press. For the first time, the Turks began to publish books, dictionaries, books about science, and a book about the military strategies of the Western armies.
It's crazy, huh?
Strategies.
Strategies. Ahmet's court never became as Western as Peter the Great's. Women in Ahmet's empire still wore the robes and veils
Dictated.
dictated by their Muslim faith.
What that means in here? Dictated means
Control.
articulated, stipulated, right? Described here. So
The Ottoman Turks kept their distinctive.
Are we okay here?
I
distinctive.
don't think so. Turbans and beards.
Yeah.
They continued to worship.
That's why I
in the
share
ways
the
of
app with you to learn different words, because I know you're gonna have trouble.
Remember when Noah wanted a turban?
Turban.
Yeah.
But the
Not a turban.
court became
I
too
know.
Western for the Janissaries. In 1730, 5 years after the death of Peter the Great, the Janissaries had enough of Ibrahim Pasha, Ahmet III, and the luxury of the royal court. The Roydad burned down Ahmet's palace and threw the Sultan in jail. They put Ahmet's nephew, Muhammad I, on the throne instead. Under Muhammad I, the
Mahmud.
Mahmud,
Yeah,
the Ottoman Turks were no longer.
you
were
can
no
you can
danger-
learn Arab. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you know with that one.
I don't think so.
Oh dear.
But neither did they prosper. In the years to come, territories that belonged to the Turks, the states that we now call Balkan, such as Greece,
Balkan.
such as Greece, Serbia, Bulgaria,
Yeah.
and
In order to
Mont-
overcome the fear, is speak louder, so then you be confident about it.
Montenegro broke away one by one.
Montenegro. Well,
Today, the
Serbia, something like that.
Serbia, Bulgaria,
Bulgaria, something like that. Yeah, so speak loud. So.
Today, the country of Turkey is the last remnant of the huge Eastern Empire of the Ottoman Turks.
Ready? Okay. Yeah. Let's try some rural crazy when we cover the old lost glory, am I? So, well, the next one, I hope it's not that long. Maybe we can finish. Yeah, we can finish. Okay, we're gonna move on. Chapter 19. Okay, you guys gonna be hungry again, so understand. So.
Besides, the lunch is not going to be here.
No,
Oh.
we're going to pick up lunch. Did you not get
Yo, yeah,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, you're the one, I guess.
Okay. Let's be hungry, people. Okay, look, let's Noah read it for us from the beginning.
Wait, we're already on chapter 19?
Yes. Say, Noah, you're going to help to produce
What did I miss of these classes, but I feel like
the-
we're right here.
huh? You need to prepare for the test for the last 10 chapters, okay? We're going to finish 20, we're going to on quiz mode. Yeah, design a quiz for them. He's my teaching assistant, you heard of that? Okay, remember they pay him a lunch sometime, okay? So. He learns his salary. No. Don't be shy, you're a teacher now. It's all your students. Go ahead.
Okay.
Hurry up, read it 1.5 speed.
Chapter 19, The English in India. The Indian Empire falls apart. The Ottoman Empire wasn't the only Eastern empire losing its lands. Southeast of the Ottomans, the Empire of India was also shrinking away. We've already read about the three great Mughal emperors of India: Jahangir, World Caesar, Shah Jahan, king of the world, and Aurangzeb, conqueror of the world. These three emperors made India into a huge and wealthy nation. But the last of these emperors, Aurangzeb, made three fateful decisions. He decided to make Islam the law of India to destroy the temples of Hindu worshippers. He decided to spend his whole reign fighting to conquer the Deccan, the southern lands of India, while ignoring the northern part of his kingdom and his capital city, Delhi. He gave the English permission to build a trading post in the Indian province of Bengal on India's eastern coast. Aurangzeb didn't know that the English trading post in Bengal would help bring an end to the Empire of India. But when he died, at the age of 89, he could already see that India was torn apart by Muslim hatred of Hindus and by the bloodshed caused by years of war. He was sick, weary, and filled with grief. "I have not done well," he wrote just before his death, "by the country or its people." Aurangzeb was right. India was soaked in misery. And as soon as Aurangzeb died, the misery got worse. The moment the emperor drew his last breath, three of his sons all claimed the throne. Aurangzeb's oldest son had been waiting to inherit the crown for 64 years. He wasn't about to give way to his brothers.
Can you
Instead,
believe that?
he killed them in battle, crowned himself Emperor Bahadur Shah I, and moved into the royal palace at Delhi.
What is the name?
Bahadur Shah
Bahadur
the First. For a little while, Bahadur tried to mend India's woes. Aurangzeb had destroyed Hindu worship places. Bahadur allowed Indians to worship as they pleased. Aurangzeb had spent years fighting against the tribes.
We're not laughing at you. I'm not.
I know.
Living in the south of
Very
India. Bahadur tried to make peace with them.
But Bahadur died only 5 years after becoming emperor. His son claimed the throne of India and spent the next 11 months paying more attention to his favorite dancing girl than to his duties as emperor. The new emperor made all of his dancing girls friends, including 4 musicians and an old vegetable seller, into state officials. He spent hours cutting down trees for fun, sinking boats in the canals nearby just to watch the passengers struggle to shore, and sitting on top of his fort throwing rocks at people who passed by.
Wow, gosh.
Finally, 2 Indian noblemen, brothers named Hussein Ali and Hassan Ali, had had enough. The Ali brothers hired assassins to break into the emperor's bedroom and strangle him. They picked another young man who had Mughal blood in him and decided to make him emperor instead. They rushed the new emperor into Delhi and arranged to have him crowned after an elaborate coronation parade. The Ali brothers planned to be the real rulers of India. Their new emperor, oh boy,
Oh my goodness.
Farrokhisar, was supposed to do only what the Ali brothers ordered him to do. But Farrokhisar turned out to be cowardly and suspicious. He was afraid of everyone, even his own servants and the children who played on the palace grounds. He accused the Ali brothers of planning his death and threatened to have them executed. So Hussein and Hassan sent their assassins. Okay, I don't know why that's funny. Sorry, that's not funny. Okay. I'm in a laughing mood, I'm sorry. To the palace once more to get rid of this useless king. They put it kind of funnily. When he saw the assassins coming, Farrokhisar hid beneath his mother's skirt. Wow.
You don't laugh that over that. That's very laughable.
The assassins
You
found
know
him
why
anyway.
he can hide on his mother's skirt? Because the Indian woman wears so large
Yeah.
dress, right? So
Yep.
sometimes it's crazy.
Hiding place.
Yeah. But he
They-
evidently was very small as well. Must be a young boy. Didn't say so. Go ahead.
They dragged him out and put him to death, but nobody cared. He was
No.
feeble.
No, he can't be that young boy because you're afraid to
Why?
death. So yeah.
I'm sure it's my fault, as always. He was feeble, false, cowardly, contemptible, one writer who lived at the time explained. It is impossible to regret him. The Ali brothers put another Mughal king on the throne. But he died of a seizure after ruling for only 4 months.
Man, you guys are speaking tragedy as if it's
This
a
is
joke.
pathetic.
That's terrible.
How did they find him underneath his little skirt? Is my question.
Me too. I'm
Maybe he was
trying to
too big.
explain to
Maybe
you.
he was too big to be.
So we're
So.
gonna like
Sorry,
every
but,
under
yeah.
every.
I mean, to search every corner if they found Trish is in the room, so they will do that. So.
How
They
would
put
they
a
know?
third king on the throne. This one died in even less time. Finally, Hussein and Hassan crowned a 17-year-old Mughal boy, Muhammad Shah,
Oh, this is a good
Emperor
guy. Maybe.
of India.
Yes.
Muhammad was healthy and energetic. As a matter of fact, he was so energetic that he convinced a few other ambitious Indian noblemen to get rid of the Ali brothers. For the next 30 years, Muhammad Shah would rule all alone over India. But Muhammad Shah didn't actually bother to run his empire. He spent most of his time going to animal fights and watching bears and wild boars gore and slash at each other.
Gosh.
He even paid to have wild animals brought to Delhi to amuse him. In one fight, he ordered bears, goats, rams, and a wild boar dressed up in tiger skins so that they could then fight to the death against a wild elephant.
Wow.
Meanwhile, all the officials in India were busy dividing up the land that they had once governed for the emperor and ruling it themselves.
How they do that? How he use the ram, the wild bear dressed in tiger skin? I don't understand.
It's
How
pretty
you-
weird
How,
sounding.
how even possible?
Meanwhile, in England, cockfights. Those are two. Just when they had roosters fight each other, that became illegal later. But then across the world, it was this. Meanwhile, all of the officials in India. Why are you laughing so much?
Why are you laughing?
Oh my goodness.
You laughing is making me laugh, so stop it.
This is so much fun now.
So much fun.
I like you guys can turn history lessons into a laugh party. That's good.
Dancing lady now.
Yeah.
Killing.
That's pretty much some weird rulers, right? So, you know, that's human history. Laughable.
Some fun history.
Yeah, some fun history. Some,
India,
Some funny history. It's not fun. So.
once an empire under a single Mughal emperor, had become a handful of little independent provinces ruled by petty kings, each pretending to pay allegiance to an emperor who never bothered to visit them or give them any orders. Just 30 years after Aurangzeb's death, the Persians invaded this weak and divided India.
Wow. So they have the inland on the Eastern Indian Company begin to go on the other side, right? The port side.
So all of the kings just, I guess,
And
stink at their
the
job.
Persian on the other side. You wait them. So there's this.
Huh?
Well, it's like it happened to many big nations, you know. So China has those history as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Move on. So go ahead.
We read about the patchwork of the Persian Empire not too many chapters ago. Remember, Persia lay between the Ottoman Empire and the Empire of India. During the years that the Ali brothers were putting one emperor after another on the throne of India, Persia was governed by a Shah named Nadir.
Nadir.
It's just a title of a ruler
Yes.
for that.
Shah is a yes, like a king, like what's it Japanese Shogun. Shogun like a czar. Because everyone has a different name. Can you believe that? President. I don't know.
Not really a ruler.
Yeah.
Nadir Shah had been a highway robber from the part of Persia that we now call Afghanistan. But after he helped fight against the Ottoman Turks, Nadir grew popular enough to claim the throne of Persia for himself. He was anxious for the countries around him to recognize his power as Shah. So he sent messengers to Delhi, hoping that the Indian emperor would hail him as Persia's rightful ruler. But the Indian court was so disorganized that no one ever sent a messenger back. Nadir Shah was furious. How dare the court of India ignore and insult me, he thought to himself. How dare they treat me like a bandit king? I'll teach them a lesson they won't soon forget. He marched his army down to the north of India toward Delhi, conquering Indian cities as he went. The frightened Indian army finally stumbled out of Delhi to meet him, but they were so terrified of Nadir Shah's giant war camels and guns that they couldn't even get into line to meet his attack. 20,000 Indian soldiers fell on the battlefield. Nadir Shah captured Muhammad Shah and forced him to follow the Persian victory parade back into Delhi, bowing and saluting the whole way. Once in Delhi, Nadir Shah ordered the city burned and the people put to the sword. The streets were strewn with corpses like dead leaves, one eyewitness wrote later. The city was reduced to ashes and looked like a burnt plain. Nadir Shah then took the key to India's treasury, plundered the Taj Mahal, and marched back to Persia, loaded down with silver, gold, jewels, and elephants.
So he is a loser. He is a bandit.
Yeah. He even took the famous peacock throne of India back to Persia and broke it up for its jewels.
Why is peacock important? The peacock is a symbol of the kingdom, okay? The empire.
Yeah.
For the peacock dynasty.
Okay. The accumulated wealth of 348 years changed masters in a moment, warned one Indian who watched. The Indian Empire was gone. Muhammad Shah remained on the throne, but he reigned over a ghostly city filled with charred walls, deserted houses, and open graves. You want me to continue?
No. That's good enough for today. Very, very good. Made us laugh a lot. So. Now, review a little bit before we wrap it up. Esther, what are we talking about?
First part was the islands look hideous. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Okay.
The Turks wanted to be more Western as well as Peter did and his people. So, they wanted to do more by conquering them. And the Sultan, who kept private guards that were called Janissary, I don't know how to say it. Janissaries. And in 1683, the Turks decided to make the West part of the Eastern Empire.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Turks did attack Viennese.
No, Vienna.
Oh, Vienna, yeah.
Yeah, the
Sorry.
capital city for Austria. Yeah.
And they fled, the Vienna fled.
They eventually were conquered, right, by the
Yeah.
European alliance, made of France, Poland, and which other city? Which other nation?
France, Poland.
And German?
Yeah, German.
Mhm.
Oh, good. German. So,
What was the head of the army's name?
wasn't it Karen Mustafa?
Khair Mustafa. Wizar, I'm right? So called Wizar. What happened when they lost? Oh, when the occasion when big Eternal tried to get in, was the bakery thing when they did something?
Croissant.
There we go. So remember that story, okay? Eventually, this guy was killed, and his head was presented to the Sudan in the war.
Bag. Yeah.
Terrible. Okay, so let's move on. So Hungarian, 25 years later, is that right? Amet, that is a territory of. That is Naomi did this really, am I? So the Tunic king. I'm better wrap it up. So okay, what else? Muhammad. Am I right on the same chapter? Or on different chapter? Same chapter. Muhammad the First, Balkans. Okay, 19. You go ahead. 19.
19, the English trading posts were built. India was in a bad state. A ruler died, and he said that he had done nothing, and that India was going into chaos. Aurangzeb.
Yeah.
And his sons, one of his sons killed his two other brothers because he wanted to be ruler. And then the Ali brothers. And then there's Farrakazar, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Was a
No, for the front that.
After look at it again.
Farakishi.
CR, I don't know.
RCR.
Well, it doesn't really matter because he was killed. Because he was a bad king. He was assassinated. And a bunch of other kings died, and rulers died or assassinated or just died. And his name, in the 17-year-old named Muhammad Shah.
Muhammad Shah.
He liked animal fights. And India was falling into chaos. The Persians ended up attacking, and Nadir was upset because they didn't send him a thing back, and he went and attacked them and destroyed everything. And then the Indians were destroyed because they're scared of his army. He said he was turned to ashes. And yeah.
That's it, huh? You guys are tired, but hey, I'm gonna wrap out of here. So with a prayer, somebody pray for us. Young lady, pray for us. Yes.
Father, thank you for today. Thank you that we get to be here together. I thank you for Emmanuel, that he comes out here just to help us learn. I think that he has so much grace, and that thank you for his sense of humor, and that he's just so sweet to us, and he's a person who wants to be a part. He's been a person who has actually tried to be a part of my life, and I thank you a lot for him. I thank you that I get to come here with my friends, and I pray that you will help us each in our lives grow closer to you, and I pray that you will help us learn more in your word and in our history.
Yeah. Thank you. Sweet.